everyone, and welcome to MeowMix, the Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven.
My name is Jerry.
And we are back. Been a couple of weeks, Jerry. A little bit of OTAs happening, a little bit of rookie mini camp happening, but other than that, no major Panthers news occurring over the last couple of weeks. So we took a little bit of time off.
Yeah, I mean, this is our, dry season. We try to do stuff with our families and, pretend that, we're good family men.
Yes, we're fooling them all. When really all we want to do is just watch old Panthers highlights, read about the Panthers, just live in that world.
And talking about reading about the Panthers, there's a couple things that I did want to talk about. Obviously, with OTAs coming in, Bryce Young supposedly looking the part, looking sharp. Everything you hear coming out of OTAs, though, take it with a grain of salt.
I heard no news from any team in the NFL that was negative.
No.
Except for a couple of injuries, and thank God the Panthers didn't have any of those.
Yeah. I mean, everybody looks the part in May. Everybody, he looks, everybody's shocked at how good he looks. Kelvin Benjamin looks lean this year. Ha!
Yeah, we've all heard, how great guys look in training camp, and then they don't even make the team. So
Ben Roethlisberger's in the best shape of his life.
Yeah, he's focused this year.
Yeah,
really put in a lot of work this offseason. You could tell. Yeah.
Another little interesting tidbit, unless you have something.
No, go ahead.
So supposedly, hype man Stanley McClover, Brian Burns' brother, I believe I overheard that he was talking about that he's going to take a discount. His brother's going to take a discount to come here. So that's good news. No, nothing imminent, but sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, they're still obviously working on that contract. I had heard similar things from other places that they're close to a deal. It's not going to be, the monster deal. I think it's still going to be a big deal. Let's not kid ourselves. We're not getting him cheap, but we might be getting him a little less than he could get on the open market for sure. And honestly, I think the Panthers just played this so poorly by having it out there in the world that he's more valuable than 2 first-round picks. Well, and I mean, they put themselves in a bad bargaining position once that news came out.
Did the Rams do that?
Either way,
whoever released that put the Panthers in a bad situation.
Yeah.
For negotiating wise.
Yeah, and regardless of who how it happened, whatever. Sure, it showed that they're committed to him and that they love him and that they want him to be here long term. But if I'm Brian Burns' agent, I'm like, hey, if this guy is worth this much to you,
what did you just give up for the number 1 overall pick?
Right.
Negotiating wise, and that's what managers and agents do. They're there to get them the most amount of money.
That's right. But it's nice that at least Burns seems like he's not going to use all that leverage that he possibly could to really hamstring the team for years to come. So that's good. Not that they couldn't figure out, again, the salary cap is a myth, but, it's nice when you don't have to do all that crazy maneuvering for one player, right?
Absolutely.
But we're happy that Burns is here. Any other kind of tidbits you want to talk about before we get into our main topic today?
No, not that I mean, again, OTAs, nothing much really happens.
No injuries, and that's always the best news, the biggest news out of these little, they're glorified walkthroughs essentially. There's no hitting, there's no pads, there's nothing. It's just, they're just getting out there and kind of learning, meeting each other essentially, right?
Throwing a little catch, running
around.
Simple routes and throwing it. Yeah.
Kind of getting the playbook, and that's the real fun will start next month, I guess, early July, when the training camps really kick into full gear, and that's when things will really start getting fun. But until then, it's gonna be real quiet.
Yeah,
it's gonna be real quiet over the next month and a half or so. Yep. But today we are going to Jerry, why don't you kind of tell the listeners what we're doing today?
So I messaged you saying, hey, for a topic, let's talk about Panthers under pressure this year. Now, under pressure could be very widespread. So it could mean under pressure of making the roster, under pressure of keeping their starting job, any way that these Panthers can be having under pressure, internally, externally, however. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, family life, we're not talking about there, so.
This is all football related, but yeah, it's guys that are feeling pressure this season to perform. Now, they all feel pressure, right?
Yeah, oh, yes.
They all feel pressure. We picked out, basically around 10, 11 of the guys that we feel like are under the most pressure for various reasons, like Jerry said. We're going to talk through them, and, if you guys agree, disagree, let us know in the comments. Any that we forgot about, let us know in the comments. But Jerry, why don't you go ahead and kick it off? Who's the first guy do you feel like is under a lot of pressure?
My first guy here is Etor Gross-Matos. This is an easy one for me. He was a former second-round pick. Really hasn't shown anything. He hasn't flashed. Not only that, I don't know if he fits Evero's scheme. I mean, he's a bigger defensive end, but he really probably can't play defensive end in a 3-4. And I think he wouldn't fit that outside linebacker.
He's listed as 6'5", 265. So he's a big dude. But again, like he really doesn't have he's not the edge, like your prototypical edge rusher in a 3-4, right? And again, like you said, being one of the defensive ends in the 3-4, maybe he's not big enough. I don't know. But regardless, this is a guy that has, in his entire career, 10 sacks over 3 years.
Yeah.
This is a second-round pick. This is not what you expect. This is not what they expected when they drafted him.
No. I mean, we're going into his fourth year, his final season here. And I don't know if he makes the roster. So, in my impression, that's why he's on top of my list of under pressure.
I think he probably makes the roster just because our depth at that position is really, really light. Like, there is no depth. But he is definitely playing for his job next year. He's playing for a new contract. He's putting tape down for other teams. Not just here. But yeah, I think he should be feeling a ton of pressure. I mean, he's probably the guy that has, probably penciled in as the starter opposite Brian Burns right now, but he's really going to have to earn it in camp, I think.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, definitely. I don't think anyone can disagree with that one. That guy's definitely under pressure. My first one here is going to be another guy entering the last year of his rookie contract, CJ Henderson. We traded for him, gave up a third-round pick, gave up a tight end when all we had was freaking Ian Thomas, and I guess Tommy Tremble, but he has not performed very well at all. This is last year of his rookie deal. I could conceivably see him as a cut candidate.
Yeah.
Before the season starts. Again, not a ton of depth at that position, but and there really wouldn't even be any cap savings to cut him.
Oh, is there
not? But if they wanted to, no, not really.
Yeah, he'll make the roster.
Not at all. He probably will, but again, he's performed. He's had moments, right? He's had moments.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's had moments where he looks good. I mean,
yeah.
But unfortunately, they're few and far between.
Extremely inconsistent. And then, opposite J.C. Horn, you could really put Dante Jackson in this conversation as well. In fact, I'm just going to group them together because I have both of those guys as feeling pressure. So let's just say Dante Jackson and C.J. Henderson. Last year, Jackson, his worst PFF score ever is a 55. Lowest interception total last year. Second highest passer rating given up in his career. He had a 16.7 missed tackle percentage, which is the second most in his career. and he had the fewest snaps in his career because he was hurt. Now you could say a lot of that was because he was hurt, right?
Yeah.
But this is a guy that just signed a pretty decent sized contract to be. I mean, at the time he was thinking he was coming in to be the number one corner.
Well, not only that, you got to think about it. He's every year,
Yeah.
every year. I don't think there's one season that he's lasted the whole all games.
He's always got something. It's always a toe. It's always a hamstring. It's always a hip. It's always something with him that is nagging him or causing him to, not play up to his full potential. But again, this is a guy, there's a potential out in his deal after this season, even though he just signed that new deal last year, that has pretty significant cap savings, especially if he's like a post June 1st cut. So I think both of these guys, I mean, I could very easily see rolling into 2024 and neither of those guys are on the roster.
Yeah. I was shocked that the Panthers didn't look harder at some of the good corners that fell in the draft.
Yeah, true. Again, it feels like they both have the talent. I mean, CJ Henderson is a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
Dante Jackson got a decent contract after a pretty good season, but neither one of them lived up to it last year. And again, I feel like this is make or break season for both of these guys.
100%.
And we need
agree.
one to step up because, like we said, opposite JC Horn, that's wide open. There's nothing in Penn there. There's nothing in Sharpie. It's just whoever's going to be playing the best that day, it feels like. So we need one of those guys to do something.
Yeah. I'm going to move on to my next under pressure, Brady Christensen. So, yes, he started last season. He looked well. But with Austin Corbett going down, Caden Mays showed a lot. Not only that, they went ahead and drafted Chandler Zavala. With those two, I could feel him feeling under pressure because I think both of those guys have starting qualities. And if Christensen slacks off, I could see him getting pushed to the second string guys, especially if they need a backup tackle.
Is he? I know he got hurt last game of the season. Is he expected to be ready week 1?
From what I heard and read, yes, he's going to be ready for training camp.
Okay. Yeah, that's again. This is a very young player who has performed pretty well. I feel like rookie season played a lot better at left tackle than he played at guard, but last season I feel like he was pretty serviceable, if not a little better than at guard. Again, the whole season, the whole line was pretty much healthy the whole year, so that definitely helped until the last game. But yeah, I could see that because of all those guys on the line, it did feel like he was
the
weakest link.
Yeah. And then you bring in Icky's running partner from NC State and Zavala. And like I said, Cade Mays, I think he was one of the PFF highest graded players a couple games that he played in. Maybe not highest, but consistently up there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he had, again, up and down, but he's a 6th round pick or something, and playing as a rookie, and, honestly, I feel like he played better than we should ever have expected, given his draft position and everything. So, but yeah, that's a good one. I have Icky as my next guy. And you may be thinking, why would Icky feel pressure? Not you specifically, but the listener may be feeling, why is Icky under pressure? Well, Icky had a good, solid first year, right?
Absolutely.
Improved over the course of the year. Fully believe that he was worth that 6th pick. But he does need to take some extra steps to become like an elite left tackle, which, again, you're drafting him in the top 10. That's what you're expecting. I think that he will take those steps this year. But really, the main reason he should be feeling pressure is because we've got a rookie quarterback coming in who is 5 foot, excuse me, 5'10", 185 pounds, soaking wet, that needs to be protected in order to fulfill his destiny as being, the Panthers franchise quarterback. A lot of that's going to be on Icky.
A
to make sure
lot.
that his blind side is protected. Because, that's where we often see a lot of quarterbacks go down is those blindside hits. And blindside hit to Bryce Young could be devastating.
Absolutely. So when you said his name, spoiler, we did trade off names so we didn't duplicate.
Right.
But I completely understood. I was like, yeah. Yeah, I mean, protecting Bryce Young, I mean, he's got to feel it.
I mean, this is a franchise.
Yeah.
This is, the Panthers have kind of mortgaged the first round of their draft next year. They've really, they've cut a lot of potential draft picks out to move up to get Bryce Young. This has to work for
Yeah.
Frank Reich. It has to work for the receivers. Like it has to work for everybody. And Icky is going to be a major, major part in making sure that Bryce stays healthy enough to where he can make it work.
Yep. Oh, let's take a brief intermission while I think a 3-year-old breaks into my room.
Oh,
And we are back after caging the 3-year-old back.
put her back in her kennel.
So, moving on, my next one here is Tommy Tremble. Now,
Yeah.
this definitely feels like it should be coming from you, but I picked my guys first. So, basically, look, we got Hayden Hurst. There's not a lot of pressure on him to be the guy, but I think he needs to worry about his position on this team long term. Frank Reich is known to use tight ends. Tommy Tremble has had chances last year and he dropped passes. That's my big problem. Wasn't like the years before where I didn't think he got chances. He dropped passes. So I'll be interested how they work if Ian Thomas gets a second job or if Tommy Tremble does, and who gets more targets during the season.
Well, not only that, but he was drafted to be this high-end blocking tight end.
Mm-hmm.
And I have not seen that from him. I do not think he's been a very good blocker in the NFL.
No, he has low PFF grades on his blocking as well. It's
Yeah. And it's just, you can just see it. You can just, when you're watching the games, you can just see it. Like, he is not a good blocking tight end. I don't know where that came from, that he was just this, incredible specimen. That even if he can't catch the ball, he's going to be a great blocking tight end. No, he's not. So, yeah, I agree. And I don't have Ian Thomas on my list. I don't think you do either, but I would throw him in there for the exact same reasons. Now he is a better blocking tight end. He is grown into be a pretty good blocking tight end. I wouldn't call him elite blocking tight end by any means. But if I had to guess, I would say he's probably going to be the number 2 guy just for that reason. Yeah. All right. Let's move on here. My next one is going to be Shaq Thompson. Now, Shaq had a pretty decent season last year, honestly. He had the most tackles in his career, 135. But he also had the highest missed tackle percentage in his career at 13.2. And again, that's something I feel like we could see, because even though Shaq had 135 tackles as his best season, tackle-wise, he didn't look like he was playing great.
No, it
right?
didn't.
His coverage was terrible.
I felt like those missed tackles always came in pinnacle times. Like on a 3rd down or so, he missed it and the guy got the first or something like that. I felt like I saw him miss quite a few or try to arm tackle guys.
Yeah, and honestly, his coverage grades are awful. And again, that's something else you could see just watching the game, is he was getting cooked over the middle all the time. His run defense actually graded out to be elite. Like his run defense was really good. So want to make sure we keep that here. Now, he reworked his deal to stay with the team. He has this year and next year left. And then what for him? I feel like, and again, there's an out after this year, pretty much in his deal, I think. They could cut him with minimal issue. So he's another guy that's going to be putting out tape there. This is a new regime. There's no loyalty to Shaq. The owner of the team wasn't even the owner when Shaq was drafted.
No.
He's kind of the elder statesman almost on this defense now. But yeah, I mean, outside of just his play on the field, this is a whole new coaching staff, new defense. His leadership is going to be needed. He should be feeling some pressure.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you on that. And the whole new regime, new defense, like he's the captain. It'll be interesting how he deals with this pressure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we need him to step up because again, he's kind of the leader on the defense, or we hope he's going to end up being the leader on the defense, and that's a important spot in a 3-4, especially really an important spot in any defense. But yeah. All right, who's your next one?
My next one is two people. It's a slash.
All
here.
right.
Terrace Marshall Jr. and Laviska Shenault.
Mm-hmm.
Two former second-round picks. Excuse me. Sorry. That haven't shown their second-round pick potential. I mean, Laviska Shenault came in last year. Terrace Marshall, I mean, he showed some flashes, but that's it. Same with Shenault. Besides that swing pass, nothing. No other real passes to him. So one of these guys,
we were freaking out in the last game because he ran a route.
Yeah, I mean it's ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
So one of them needs to step up. We have Adam Thielen and Jonathan Mingo, DJ Shark, who's always injured. So if one of these guys could jump up, grab a starting role, that would be great. And they have to be feeling the pressure because you're a second-round pick. There's no promises anymore for these guys.
Yeah. I mean, now's the time, right? You've got the new coaching staff, fresh slate.
A good quarterback.
A good, hopefully a good quarterback. They're going to get their opportunities. And I'll just go ahead and we'll talk about mine right here too. Shi Smith, another guy in that mold, not as high a draft pick. And really, it's kind of different because Shenault and TMJ, they're going to make the team, most likely.
Most likely,
Shenault, yeah. Shenault, who knows, but TMJ for sure. Shi Smith may not. I think Reich usually keeps 5 or 6 wide receivers. He doesn't ever keep any more than 6. So Shi, I feel like, is on that bubble. And they're going to bring in a lot of wide receivers, throughout camp. Mm-hmm. There's already a bunch on the roster. Somebody's going to be the odd man out. And I have a feeling it's going to be Shi unless this guy's had some legal troubles. He hasn't really performed on the field. Again, flashes, but no consistency. I would put him right up there with those guys in terms of wide receivers who should be feeling pressure.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely correct in the fact that if he doesn't really have a great special teams play two, he may not make this roster.
Yeah, I could easily see him not making the roster. And I don't know, he could be a practice squad guy, but he's got speed. And again, we've seen flashes, but no consistency. So we'll see.
All right. Moving on to my last Panther that is feeling pressure. This one might shock some people, but I'm going to say Ejiro Evero, defensive coordinator here. Now, I use different criteria, but this one is kind of interesting for me, or for him, is because he's a first-time defense coordinator here in Carolina. He's switching defenses from a 4-3 to his 3-4 type of scheme. He also wants a head coaching job. He had multiple head coaching interviews this offseason.
Including so for him, the Panthers.
So if he wants to continue on that trajectory to get a head coaching job this offseason, next offseason, he's going to have to quickly change this defense. Mm-hmm. And the weird thing is, this defense was good last year. So
in places, yeah.
I mean, so he's going to have to mold this team quickly to what he wants to do. There's typically growing pains when you do this type of 4-3 to 3-4 or vice versa.
Yep.
So For him, he has to be feeling pressure to get it right and get it done quickly with guys that may not fit his scheme that well.
Right, and that's exactly it. He's gonna have to do it the right way. Where if this 3-4 isn't working, he's gonna have to adapt. And again,
Mm-hmm.
they've said the 3-4 is just gonna be the base. What they go to during the game may not be 3-4 at all. Maybe some sort of hybrid. They may run 4-3 at times. Who knows? But um, yeah, I mean, this defense is really returning most of its starters. Right now, there are some new faces, but it's a little different from the offense, which is almost completely revamped. He's coming in here with guys who know how to play together, veterans. Um, so yeah, I would agree. I think he is feeling pressure, and I'm kind of going the same vein with my next guy, Thomas Brown, offensive coordinator, for mainly the same reason. Is he's coming in with some hype coming from that Sean McVay offense. He's a guy I believe who will be in the head coach conversation over the next few years, as long as he does a good job here, which I think gives anyone pressure knowing that they could be interviewing for their, next job, or at least putting down on tape. But this offense, outside of the offensive line, which is returning all the starters, everything else is different.
Yep.
All the wide receivers are different, starting wide receivers at least are different. Tight end is different. Running back is different. Like everything is going to be different. Now I know he's not going to be calling plays, at least to start off. He and Frank Reich together are building this offense, but much like Eric Bieniemy, you're going to get credit for how good that offense is. Just like with Andy Reid, Thomas Brown's going to get credit if this offense goes well, and if it doesn't, unfortunately, the offensive coordinator often is one of the first guys to go if the offense is struggling.
Or if Bryce doesn't show up
Yeah,
to be as good as we hope, and I think he can be. So,
right.
I
I
mean,
mean, with both of these coaches, this is a very winnable NFC South. I feel like the fans are desperate for something good to happen here. There's a lot of optimism with most of the fan base. If I was the coaching staff, I'd be feeling a lot of pressure. And Frank Reich's not on this list, but he certainly could be, very easily. But yeah,
nah,
we got the two coordinators here for sure. Are there's a lot of pressure.
yeah.
Recurring theme here, pressure.
Real quickly, we've got 3 minutes before Zoom decides that we didn't
Mm-hmm.
pay our bill. Um, who are a couple other guys that you were thinking of, and then I'll chime in, and then people can comment, email us, and
Yeah, I mean, like Chuba Hubbard. I feel like
that was a name I didn't pop up but think of, but yeah, that's a good one.
yeah, I think he should be feeling a ton of pressure just to stay on the team. He has not done enough, in my opinion, to have a lot of comfort, in the fact that he's going to be on the team long term. Ian Thomas, we mentioned, should definitely be feeling pressure. Who do you got?
I was thinking this one's obvious in my opinion. Bryce Young's got to be feeling a lot of pressure with just the simple fact of being the big number one guy. I mean, yes, again, pressure in different
Yeah,
situations here.
yeah,
That was the first one, and then Jeremy Chen. I mean, he didn't have a great year, and it sounds like this coaching staff is going to give him what we wanted, is put him down by the line, more of a linebacker type of role.
yeah.
And I think that will open up him to be what that defensive rookie of the year that he was showing. But he's got to feel pressure, because otherwise, what do you do with him? He's in the last year of his contract.
Right. I mean, Chin was someone I thought about bringing up as well. I, I almost put his, lack of productivity last year, especially, just on Matt Rule.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I think he was misplaced, and we talked about it. We talked about it when they decided to move him to safety. That this was not a good idea. Like was so good. when they played him at linebacker for most of his rookie year. He was so good, so explosive, and they kind of ruined it.
Yeah. He's a very reactionary type of player in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Like he could
Yeah,
quickly diagnose and react.
yeah. Which is fine for safety as well, but he was just so impactful at linebacker. I really hope that he plays more in that area, this season. So,
All right. We got 1 minute. Let's go.
all right, I think that's gonna do it. I mean, I don't really have anybody else.
All right, we'll be back in a couple weeks here. We
Oh
want
wait,
to thank
who's not gonna feel the pressure, Jerry?
who?
Johnny Hecker.
Yeah, yeah.
Not a bone in that guy's body that feels pressure. Like he is set.
All right, you're giving me 40 seconds. All right, thank you for listening. If you like the show, please let your friends know. Please follow us on Twitter at MeowMix Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at mailbag@mewmixpodcast.com. And if you leave us a 5-star review with a comment on Apple Podcasts, we'll read it on the show.
We'll be back in a couple of weeks with another episode. Until then, everybody stay safe out there and keep pounding.